I recognize that, if you're working in a complicated clinical situation or in a school system, or you're a parent with kids who are really crossed up, that there would be something of immense use in developing a tool that would help to prime compassion, the emergence of compassion as we're interacting with others. And this tool is something that we offer a training in here at Upaya. There's a national G.R.A.C.E organization in Japan with hundreds of palliative care people in it, and G.R.A.C.E study groups all over Japan. It's a technique that's used in many medical settings in various parts of the world, including my own country. And G.R.A.C.E is a mnemonic that stands for G of grace. It's a process. You're in the encounter with someone who's really suffering. And it's important to get grounded. So one gathers one's attention. So that's the G of grace. It's allowing yourself to bring your attention, presence, what Sunita Puri was speaking about. Compassion is that ability to see deeply, to not turn away, to be grounded, to bring your attention not only to the person or situation where suffering is really present, but to your own subjective experience. The G of grace. The R of grace is recalling your intention. This is one of the things that I learned from so many clinicians, that they had really lost the thread of why they had entered into this field. And this is coming back, if you will, to the aspirational aspect, why we're doing this work of caring for dying people. It's really a calling. And it might be just a flash that we touch into this kind of sense of, I remember why I'm here, just to be of service to others to the best of my ability. But recalling our intention is, sort of the direction that we want to go into. There's another process, and it's also to access our actual motivation. Because sometimes our motivation is fraught, is complicated. That we're doing this work to please others or to not attract censure. We're doing it because it kind of boosts our ego and so forth. So servicing our motivation is part of the work that is really important. Not only locating our intention, but being aware, which is, this is often at a preconscious level of what our motivations are in doing this work. So the R of grace is recalling our intention and recalling our motivation. And the A of grace is attunement. And this is counterintuitive because most of us have been taught right away to bring our attention to the other. But actually, this first pulse of attunement has to do with being aware of what's happening in our own body, what's happening or up for us emotionally, and also how we see things. And again, it can be just a flash, but it also, so much information about our perception of an external, so-called external situation is already taking shape at the preconscious level in our own very subtle somatic responses to what we're perceiving. So self-attunement is really important, and it is, coming back to grounding and bringing our attention into the body and into our heart and into the mind. And then allowing our subjectivity to include the experience of another or of others. Not to withhold, but to open ourselves and to practice this kind of radical inclusivity, knowing that over-identification will lead to empathic distress, so stay grounded. And the C of grace is considering what will serve. And so we could, our grounding, our intention, and our attunement allows us to really, it gives us the capacity to have the insight to look more deeply or to respond more deeply than what is necessarily prescribed, what is expected of us. So really seeing or considering what will really serve. And the E of grace is engaging and also ending. Engaging in a way that is congruent with what will serve this individual, not only with, what's going to serve us. This is work of service. So engaging is really coming from this foundation of service. And then in regard to this interaction, I just have to say my colleague, Tony Back, who's a palliative care physician, Tony, and Cindy and I have taught together for many years and collaborated on many projects. And Tony said, Roshi, ending. I went, absolutely, you're completely right. How do we end that interaction? Either intrapsychically or interpersonally, with a sense of gratitude, or maybe we have to ask forgiveness or appreciation. Ending that interaction, completing that interaction, so we can move on to the next encounter. So each of these elements that I've talked about, grounding of attention, intention, attunement, insight in considering what will really serve, engaging and ending, are trainable. And this is the thing that was so powerful for me in doing this work, to realize, no, I can't train in anyone in compassion in general, but we can train in the suite of aspects of compassion that, when activated, compassion emerges. And you say, well, that's a lot of stuff to go through. And I just say, actually, what the training does, or what knowing about these different elements does for us, is it happens in an instant. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. At first, you have to, the handlebars and feet, you're thinking of all the different things, so you're not going to fall down or bump into something. But actually what the training does, and what practice does, and why practice is so important. And I say practice in the sense of, as an old-time meditator, how important it is for me to have a daily practice that allows me to drop in deeply and to remember why I am here and how I can bring my best to others. So what practice does is instantiate or nourish or water the seeds of these cognitive and affective and somatic capacities within us that allow us to respond to a world with care and with balance.